Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
I was going to ask you to borrow me $3,360,000, but it sold already.
Oh, and what's that?
The original art page from Mike Zeck, Secret Wars, that is the Marvel Superhero Secret Wars, number 8, page 25. The first time Spider-Man was encompassed in his black costume Venom symbiote.
See, now I'm asking for something.
And then, of course,
less.
in the your favorite panel, which was repeated, was Charles Xavier in the bottom corner going, "Come on, Galactus is devouring this planet," which I think didn't he do like 3 or 4 times during the?
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, you were saying.
I was asking for something much less.
And this is legit too. Apparently, people watch this live on the Heritage site. So
yeah. So if you love me, you would go to the Heritage site and see the cover for Giant Size Conan the Barbarian #1. Joe, what is special about the cover of Giant Size Conan? Oh, I'm sorry. It says Giant Size Conan #1, but it was actually Giant Size Conan #5.
Did Kirby do it?
Yes, it is the only
I
drawing of Conan that Jack Kirby
I will
has done.
consider that if you can find me a Kirby Supergirl.
I don't think he ever drew her.
I don't think he did either.
Unless she was in superpowers.
I don't think so. Not the version I want. I often think of if you were like a time traveling person, would you say you went back in time and you were visiting Jack Kirby, other than getting things signed and autographed, would you want to bring back hey, check this out, somebody did a version of Fantastic Four movie, and just show him that? Or assuming what you show him, he'll either forget or it won't alter the timeline.
I think the fact that there is a movie would be enough for him.
Yeah,
because Jack always talked about once he left a book, he didn't care. It wasn't his anymore. He didn't care what people did with this stuff. Now, he was always polite. And when people would come up and say, "Hey, I'm going to be doing blah, 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 and really want to get your blessing," he, of course, would give his blessing. But he would also say, "Now, you should probably start working on your own stuff." Because if you look at Kirby's career, it is really rare that he went back to a character he worked on. There was Captain America, and then when he came back to DC in the 80s, he did the New Gods. But the reason he did the New Gods was the rules at DC had changed. So Paul Levitz, who we did not deserve Paul Levitz, had Kirby redesign the New Gods, just small redesigns, so that they could use those redesigns for the toys, and Kirby would get a piece of the action on those toys. So we did not deserve Paul Levitz.
Nope.
I also remember when Len Wein said that he made more money off creating Lucius Fox and how Lucius Fox was used in Batman Begins than he made creating Wolverine. Or the X-Men. So, and from what I hear now that Paul Levitz is gone, so is that. Because it wasn't contractual for things like, "Oh, you created this character and it's in a movie now." Levitz would actually press Warner Brothers for that. And now that he's gone, nobody's doing that. And if nobody's doing that, it's not going to happen. But that's not why we're here.
Not today, anyways.
We're here to talk about the draft.
Oof, it is drafty down here. That's why I got my, lately we've been starting off with the weather here, and we've actually gone from sub-zero, freeze your outer garment hairs off, to a couple days in the 30s, which was nice because I actually did some comic shop popping. And then it went back. Well, tomorrow it's getting more like it should be in Minnesota, around 18, and we got snow coming. So I did my running today, so I don't have to. It's not a lot of snow, like 1 to 3 inches, which is nothing for us. But
well, I was talking about a draft because
root beer. Oh God, I love root beer. A&W root beer. I almost had some yesterday because I was right next to Nerding Out.
I went to Hot Comics, the new one. Is it Hot Comics Minneapolis now? Is that what
I think so? Because they're usually located after we had, the 2 Hot Comics. There's Hot Comics East, my store, Hot Comics West. Once the 3rd and 4th stores started, Hot Comics New Hope, and then Hot Comics Minnetonka, that's when they started naming them after the city they were in, which is a tradition.
I believe we started because you were Hot Comics St. Paul.
Yeah, originally we were Hot Comics East, West, and then it didn't make any sense once you had 4 shops, and then I went into Hot Comics St. Paul, which was a name that we trademarked, so although I'd probably let it lapse.
And if I remember right, didn't you guys misspell the word collectibles? Because it was actually Hot Comics and Collectibles. You misspelled the word collectibles so you could trademark it.
Yep, that was Brian's idea.
Now, I went to Hot Comics Minneapolis because Box Day has not occurred yet, so that I could pick up the new previews for comics that are coming out in, let's see when these books are coming out.
See, and I'll interject.
Like they are coming out in March.
Yeah, I got my Box Day last Saturday, so I was all giddy excited to cut that sucker open when I got home, which is weird because I really didn't expect it to be delivered on Saturday. They had just informed me it was coming, so I thought it would show up Monday.
Now, by the way, this is Previews 400, and they did nothing special for it.
No. They're probably just trying to stay alive. Staying alive.
But I went over to Hot Comics St. Paul, and the reason I say it has to do with the draft is they're not Hot Comics.
Minneapolis shout out. I appreciate that. I appreciate the shout out. But 20 years too long.
They are in a former gas station, and you could actually feel the wind. When you would hear the wind outside, you could feel it in the building. It is very old and very drafty, and I think that's because it used to be a gas station, so they had the main part of the store is where they had the bays where they would repair cars. So when they got rid of the garage type doors, they didn't exactly go, well, we need to put in a whole bunch of insulation there. The guy working the place was wearing his coat. But I did get my previews because it's time for previews. Previews is the monthly episode where we go through, we point out the new things or
things we want to buy.
Things we want to buy. Things we think are interesting. I will also point out stuff that I already own that's being reprinted that have been out of print for a long time.
He'll talk about every single trade paperback DC and Marvel's doing, even though we don't get a lick of recognition from either one of those two for doing it.
Yeah, there are times I think that I should just outsource that to the Uncanny Omar, who does Prime Mint on YouTube, where he has the hookup, he has the pipeline, he has the connection. He's even sponsored by Marvel, and they give him all the information on the new omnibuses coming out, even though we've been doing this for 12 years.
Yeah, without a Wikipedia page.
Without a Wikipedia page, without a Marvel ad, without anybody at Marvel. And I know people at Marvel listen. Hi, Marvel. Because they've told me.
Oh. Well, I will say we actually have a new segment suggested by you, the listeners. And we'll get to that at the very end.
Yeah.
So I will start out as I want to do. But first we'll let Cory.
We will start with
anything
image
on the covers you wanted to point out that made you go wow, or just not really?
I on the spine it says 400th issue milestone, 34 years in print. See page 8 for our editor's note. Now, you would think 37 years, 400 issues, they do something special. They really, really don't.
No.
here's a note saying, hey, cool, we've done 400 issues. When we did 400 episodes, we did something special. I don't remember what it was, but we did something special.
Yeah.
When we had 500 episodes, we did something special. Once again, can't remember what it was. I can't remember what I did 2 weeks ago, but it was it was important. And when we get to episode 600, we'll do something special. I think the big one, the big episode, the episode where we will have a huge celebration. I think I have it here. Hold on.
But
I'm doing the math.
But I don't. Ugh.
Doing the math. I carry the 5. I think it looks like episode 853. Joe, why will episode 853 be special?
No idea.
If we stay on target and The Simpsons is still in production, that is the episode where we will finally have more episodes than The Simpsons. Yes, I've done the math. I've stunned him into silence.
No, somebody is asking a question I actually know the answer to.
That's a first. So, Image. We will start with Image.
And that was then. As in, I will point this out because I'm buying it for one specific reason. On page 40, Astro City is back. Oh, I love Astro City. I have all the books. I hope I have everything. It's hard to say because towards the end of the run with DC Vertigo, I don't know if I have everything in book form or if there were some things I'm missing. But it's starting up again at Image. This is a one-shot special to get things rolling. And I'm going to buy way down in the bottom. You see all the different variant covers. I am getting the cover B one done by Eric Larson, who's got Savage Dragon in it. And rest assured, Savage Dragon is not part of the Astro City universe. This is just kind of a fun thing he's doing, as well as the other covers kind of tying in. So I'm pointing it out. Those of you picking it up, and I'm sure I'll talk about it, I will tend to wait to pick these up in graphic novel form because that's how I have them and that's how I'll do it. So that's my first pick for the day.
My first pick for the day, if you're looking through, it should not surprise you in any way, shape, or form, a new Reckless book, which is the books by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. They have decided they're no longer going to do monthly comics. They're just going to do original hardcovers, and this is the latest one, The Ghost in You. It's the winter of 1989, and Ethan is out of town. So this time, Anna has to tackle the job on her own. When a movie scream queen asks her to prove the mansion she's renovating isn't haunted, Anna will stumble onto a decades-long mystery of one of Hollywood's most infamous murder houses. Place with many dark secrets, some of which just might kill her. These books are fantastic. They are connected, but not in a way that if you pick up one, you can pick up one and read it on its own. But if you read others, they do connect. It reminds me a lot of the mystery characters that I read, like Travis McGee or Parker or things like that, where each book is on its own but exists in a kind of a universe the writer has created. Love these books. Look forward to them. And I actually like the idea that they're saying, we're not going to do comics anymore because we say we're going to do this long run and it ends up being, oh, the story only lasts this long. Or by the 8th or 9th issue, we're wanting to start a new story and the sales aren't that great. Instead, they're just doing books because that's what they do. And if I had my druthers, by the way, that's a little Abner reference. If I had my druthers, I wish that all comics were like this. Joe, what's your next one?
I'm not buying it because I got them, but I'm going to point out on page 67, The Complete Cyberforce, Volume 1. Mark Silvestri, Eric Silvestri, Jim Lee, Walt Simonson, Chris Claremont, doing all sorts of stuff. Both a hardcover and trade paperback are available. This collects Cyberforce 0, Cyberforce 10 Men of War 1-4, Wildcats Killer Instinct 5-7, which was a crossover. Volume 2, 1-13, and a couple other books as well. So if you're never read these, or you just want to read some, or actually you go back to when Silvestri drew as well as wrote, this is a good collection to jump in on.
And it's 664 pages. The hardcover is $50. The softcover is $30. And for those of you who were big Image fans back in the day, this is Silvestri creating his little Cyberforce universe. And I think more and more, like I know the Spawn books are coming out, and I think it's really good to keep those in print, because as time goes on and creators realize, hey, I own all this stuff, and back issue sales are cool, but I don't make any money off of it. Having these books available for people of creator-owned stuff is kind of a way to keep generating income. Almost like it's your own personal pension plan or 401k, which Dave Sim has for Cerebus with the Cerebus phone books. And when we get to Cerebus, I have some huge news.
Huge, tremendous news.
Huge news that Joe doesn't even know.
Because I don't read Cerebus. Well, the original.
With Image, that was really about it of the
Same
new
thing.
stuff. I do want to point out that their focus this month is on women-created comics. So if you go to your comic shop, they may have a special deal on them, special order form for the retailers. Some really good books in that. Highlight of it, of course, is Monstrous. Monstrous is just goddamn amazing. And then the rest is just the stuff that Image is coming out with. Joe, what's next?
Dark Horse, page 94. As I slowly get there. We Have Demons, 3-issue miniseries. Scott Snyder writing it. Craig Capello doing the majority of the art chores. Since the very dawn of man, legends have been told of the conflict between angel and demon kind. Lam Lyle, a woman of science, dismissed these stories as just that, fiction. But when the loss of a loved one leads to the discovering of a hulking, benevolent demon named Helvis, Lam realizes that her life is about to undergo a dire new direction. With a newfound partner and awesome powers now at her disposal, our hero suddenly finds herself thrust into a climactic war of good and evil, with no less than the fate of the world hanging in the balance. If that doesn't get you to buy it, there are 3 pages of art that show you some of the stuff. Looks really good. And I am loving Dark Horse's miniseries, so you can pick it up this way or wait for the inevitable graphic novel.
By the way, Joe, did you know this is a reprint?
Of?
We Have Demons, which Scott Snyder has in his Substack, which is that service where you can subscribe to him and they will send you stuff via email. This is one of the comics that he's doing through that. Many of the people who are doing that Substack, hey, subscribe to us and we'll send you comics every week, are also putting together deals to have the stuff printed and in comic shops. And this is one of the first of those books. So Scott Snyder no longer working for DC. All his stuff will be through Substack, and it will be printed up by Dark Horse. I do know that Brian Michael Bendis' contract with DC ends with the Legion of Superheroes meets Justice League. And no one knows where he's going, but I know that all his creator-owned stuff went over to Dark Horse. My first book in Dark Horse is one that Joe already has.
Ooh.
If you go to page 114.
Dun, dun, dun.
Jim Starlin's Dreadstar Omnibus, Volume 1.
Yeah, I was going to point that out.
Now, it does not say how many issues it prints, but it does show that it reprints the stuff from Epic Illustrated, probably reprints The Price, which was a graphic novel he did that no one knew was connected to Dreadstar.
I can run upstairs
before
and get
Dreadstar.
You want me to run upstairs and get it?
Oh, sure.
Sure. Wait, I'll be back.
while he's gone. It's 512 pages, $30. Was available through the Kickstarter with all kinds of specials. But if you don't want the specials, Joe got all the specials. You just buy it here from Dark Horse, which is what I'm doing. On the other page is EC Archives Vault of Horror #2 in trade paperback. I want to point out something. I have been highlighting these EC reprints. One of the things that Dark Horse does not do, they do not reprint their hardcovers. So if you have those Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, Weird Science, Weird Fantasy hardcover archives, and you go to the eBays as they go out of print, they're silly money, silly, stupid money. Now, they are going to be all reprinted in trade paperback. They'll stay in print and trade paperback, but the hardcover archives for EC, never to be reprinted again by Dark Horse. Joe, what is in the Jim Starlin Omnibus Volume 1?
Metamorphosis Odyssey, which was
the story in Epic
Illustrated. The Price, which originally was published by Eclipsed. Dreadstar graphic novel #1.
The third of Marvel's graphic novels.
Dreadstar in Epic Illustrated, which was a story that a lot of people overlooked. And then Dreadstar 1 through 8, as well as bonus features, and I would imagine the forward. So here's your chance. If you're like me and you want a hardcover, you could probably go to Jim Starlin's site himself and get the hardcover if you want. There were 3 omnibuses, so there will be 2 more following, and then he just did an original story in the last book. Eventually, knock on, what can I knock on that I won't break? There we go, plastic lid. He's going to do the Peter David stories, which is cool because I have those books in my collection somewhere, but I'm getting to a point where I like the graphic novels.
And we can bug Angel Medina because he drew most of those.
We can bug Angel Medina. I'm going to pop back to page 109. Scarlet by Brian Michael Bendis with Alex Maleev. This was originally, I believe, a DC comic.
Originally a Marvel comic, then a DC comic, and now a Dark Horse book. Yeah,
I know
it was a mini-series under the Icon line.
All I know is I'm missing issues of everything. So here's your chance to just pick it up. It doesn't say.
It's the whole thing, all 12 issues.
Okay, so a young woman is pushed to the edge by a world filled with police brutality, government corruption, and unspeakable, I can't even do it, crimes. After a mystery murder and a near-death experience, Scarlet Rue wakes from a coma with her world shattered. Fueled by rage, guilt, and her vision of a better future, she takes the fight to her oppressors and anyone who gets in her way. So here's your chance to get the whole thing and not like me where I'm missing issues here, there, and over where.
Also on the same page is a reprint of Powers the Best Ever, which was a mini-series. Powers is such a mess to me because it would start and stop. And I hope that at Dark Horse, he actually puts out, okay, here's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Because over the years, especially when there would be like 2-year gaps between issues, I lost the thread of the story. Sorry, that when you take so much time between issues, you have to expect that. Anything else in Dark Horse, Joe?
Negatory.
All right, shall we go to IDW?
IDW. I've already gone nuts on this one. So, page 122, Godzilla versus Power Ranger. 5-issue miniseries. I'm excited as all heck. I'm an original Power Ranger fan. I love Godzilla. I can't wait to see what they do with the crossover here. Tons of variant covers and an inevitable graphic novel. If you're someone who is prone to want to pick up things that will accelerate in value, I would pick these up and I would pick up the graphic novel. Because once the licensee is gone, there is no way they will reprint this. I mean, how many reprintings of the Marvel Godzillas have we seen?
One.
One, as I'm aware of.
One.
Yep. And
that was the Essential. And Marvel had to pay a pretty penny for it, because I remember when it came out, it was like $2 or $3 more than every other Essential.
Yeah, and that's the last time. I'm kind of floating on the eBays now. Let me just, if you want to see what you got for IDW, I'm going to type in Godzilla
Essential. If you go to page 128.
Not Essential, Essential.
Loved and Lost, a relationship trilogy by Jeffrey Brown. Jeffrey Brown was a cartoonist who started with autobiographical books in the late 90s, early 2000s. This reprints the 3 books that he did: Clumsy, Unlikely, and Any Easy Intimacy. Jeffrey Brown now is probably best known for his Star Wars kids books, which amazes me, because these books are very open, they're very honest, they're not for kids at all, and I'm glad that the packaging doesn't look like anything that would appeal to kids. I loved these books when they came out. And one of the things, there was this huge boom of autobiographical comics in the 90s. And eventually there was kind of a shakeout, because some people's lives just aren't very interesting. And some people's are. But also some people can turn that into a story, and some people can't. I've read some autobiographical comics that was, well, this happened. This happened. This happened. This happened. And you get halfway through it and you're like, this doesn't flow. It doesn't make any sense. It's not a story. It's just a bunch of things that happened. Whereas Brown and other people like Joe Matt or Bob Fingerman were able to, okay, here's how the story begins. Here's how it weaves through. Here's everything crossing, and here is a good end point. Rather than, here's just a bunch of stuff that I did, and aren't I cute? And aren't I quirky? And aren't I cool? They sort of open up their lives, and in Jeffrey Brown's stuff, it's how awkward he is, how socially inept he is. And he's very honest and open about it. And if you read these books, you have great empathy for him as a person, even though he talks about things in it that he did that if he were your friend, you'd go, God damn it. Just a great collection. I already have these, but Top Shelf putting them together in a nice book that'll go on bookshelves and be in bookstores is a great idea. If you've not read these before, highly, highly recommended. Joe?
All right. I've been on the eBays. There's somebody selling one and a bid for $15.75, which is cheap because the Nearmint one is $60. Someone's got a water damage one for $30. That's it. There's only 3 on the eBays. So come get some. All right. I didn't hear what you talked about.
The one I talked about was, let me go back. Page 128.
Okay.
Loved and Lost.
Okay, that's what I thought. I had that one down as well. One that I'm going to pick up because of probably the same reasons you had it down. On page 131, Yellow Cab. I cannot pronounce these names. Benoit Cohen and Christopher Chablit. I'm not sure. I know I've seen his stuff before. I've talked about it. And here's a book that's coming out in May. After 20 years working on a film and series shoots, Benoit Cohen is drained. His enthusiasm gone. A desire to stop writing and put down the camera takes over. In his city, for a year, he still wonders about how best to absorb the rich diversity of the cosmopolitan metropolis. Setting in a simple idea, he will become a taxi driver. Behind the iconic yellow cab, behind the fantasy of freedom and independence, behind the faces of his thousands of passengers, Benoit discovers a world to which he's a stranger. It just sounds utterly fascinating. First he's got to go through the administrative maze, leads to a taxi driver license. Then the world behind the scenes, and finally, the prejudice that surround the profession and the customers, the cops, the entire city, the way they look at it being a yellow cab driver, either with indifference, kindness, or aggression. So it's an autobiographical novel for Benoit, and then Christopher does his amazing artwork. I'm really, really looking forward to this one. And the only other thing I had on page 124, another book, Free Pass by Julian Hanshaw. Huck and Nada are enjoying their 20s, working in a big tech and developing an adventurous sex life. Ooh. Together, they fantasize about opening the relationship with a free pass to sleep with certain friends or celebrities, all in good fun. But Huck is leading a double life. As a nation election looms, he grows more and more uncomfortable with his company's unelected authority over internet discourse. When the couple receives a bizarre gift, a cutting-edge humanoid sex AI that can morph into anyone, their worlds of fantasy, trust, and consent are thrown into blissful chaos. Some very, very small sampling, but a lot of... Sorry, I'm reading the how would you say it, the blurb, cover blurb or whatever, where somebody who's read it has recommended it. Hanshaw has outdone himself with Free Pass, a futuristic sex fantasy that is as much fun for women as it is for men, set against the background of our world gone mad politics. This story glows in Henshaw's unearthly works. Jennifer Hayden, author of The Story of My Tits. You know, as Cory talks next, I'm going to go find that book.
Well, shall we go to Dynamite?
Dynamite!
Yeah, I got nothing here.
I'm looking at, there's always stuff, but this month I am Dynamite free. And they have a lot of stuff, but just nothing that things I'm just getting you. Nothing.
They've pretty much become the home of the bad girl book.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Chaos was in the 90s.
Yeah, and I think they're doing good. I mean, I just got a blurb that if you're doing the Panther book, issue number 1 is sold out from Dynamite. So your comic store may have them, so pick them up. Plus, you got tons of variant covers you can choose from. Lots of fun.
Let's just do Boom.
All right. Let's see.
Again, I have nothing new.
Boom. I got something. I was going to point out on page 188. Something is Killing the Children, number 21. It is back. So if you've been wondering when the hiatus is over, it is over. I'm a little... No, it's not one of those things where I'm deathly worried about it, because I bought the hardcover. I think we got that. I bought that on Free Comic Book Day, I think, right? Black Friday at the source, and I love it. It only goes to issue number 15. Here they're starting up at 21, and I'm like, well, I don't know.
Just buy the next book.
Yeah, just wait till the next book. What do I do with them when I'm done? Put them on eBays, of course, because I'll keep the book. Yeah, but I mean, I just want to let it go. So that was it. I just wanted to point out that one is back in stock. So if you don't have a pull list or you're just buying them individually, you definitely want to jump on that.
Now, shall we do DC or Marvel?
Let's do DC first.
Oh, DC made me so happy with the cover of DC Connect.
Yes, I do believe we're both on ground zero on this. If you have your copy of DC Connect, you may turn to page 4. Mark Waid returns to the DC universe with artist Dan Mora in World's Finest. That's a Batman and Superman for you that don't know. And there are tons of variants. I haven't checked out the prices. The ones I'm looking at, I'm curious what the Seinfeld variant is. It's got Jerry Seinfeld. It's a 1 in 100 variant, so it's probably expensive.
Yeah, they're Jerry not showing Seinfeld it here.
On page 5 they show it.
Oh,
Jerry Seinfeld in the Batmobile getting coffee. Brilliant. Above it are the two that I'm kind of looking for. the slap battle. Cory, if you want to read the blurb about it, I'm going to go look up online and see what the costs on these things are.
Well, what it is, there's that meme of Batman slapping Robin that's from an old Batman comic. So they have one of Superman slapping Batman, same pose, and another of Batman slapping Superman. 1 in 25 variant.
Yeah.
But Mark Waid is so good at writing Superman. And there was a huge kerfluffle about him with Dan DiDio, where eventually Dan DiDio said, Mark Waid will never, ever write Superman at DC. Ever, ever, ever. Well, Dan DiDio's gone, so guess who's writing Superman?
Don't these people learn from Vince McMahon? You never say never.
Or from Sean Connery.
Yeah.
But Mark Waid, really good at superhero stuff. I think his last year or so over at Marvel has shown that he's a little burned out on the Marvel universe, coming over to DC and playing in the new DC universe. And really, he knows Superman so well. The few Superman stories he's done have been fantastic. And if you ever want to read something utterly amazing, Mark Waid, Grant Morrison, I think Tom Payer, and there was somebody else put in a proposal in 2000 to kind of take over the Superman books because the Triangle era had ended. Superman sales were trending down. So they announced, hey, we need new people to take over the Superman books. And they gave this pitch that when you read it, you go, oh, I want to read that so bad. But nope, DC just kind of said no. And the people they did get weren't all that great. But we finally get Mark Waid on Superman. And boy, are there a lot of Batman books.
They're not offering those variants through Discount Comic Book Service. So
really,
I will keep my eyes open because I'm real curious. I was going to go poke around on eBay if you want to tell the folks what next you're interested in.
There aren't any number ones that have jumped out at me, although there's a mini series here that I will be picking up when it's collected as a book. And that is War for Earth 3. Earth 3 is the DC Earth where all the Justice League are the villains and all the villains are the heroes. It's kind of a opposite world, or mirror universe, if you would like. The Teen Titans, Flash, and Suicide Squad all collide on Earth 3, home of the evil crime syndicate, on the hunt for the former Task Force X mastermind, Amanda Waller, as Waller tries to take over this alternate Earth and dethrone evil versions of Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, and the other heroes that rule it. Her former partner, Rich Flag, arrives on Earth 3, bent on making Waller pay for her crimes, while the Titans and Flash hunt for a missing Academy student they believe was kidnapped by Waller to form her mysterious Justice Squad. This is a 5-part miniseries. It's going to be collected in a book. Robbie Thompson and Dennis Hopeless are writing, and Steve Pugh is drawing the first issue. Dexter Soy is drawing the second issue. And then they have some tie-ins, and the next 2 issues will be next month. Joe?
I don't have anything comic book wise. I do have some graphic novels, though, if you're ready to dive into those.
I want to point out on page 27 the reformatted Sandman books, because Sandman is going to be a Netflix series. There you have reformatted Neil Gaiman's Sandman into 4 books. That will be on bookstores everywhere. Now, this is one of those things where I'm not going to buy it because I have them all as trade paperbacks. I am not going to double dip on this. But I do want to remind people, Sandman is the comic that created the graphic novel as we know it. It was the first... As a regular comic, it sold okay. Not great. Matter of fact, with issue 8, there was a special letter in the book saying, please tell your friends to buy this. I was a comic retailer at the time. We got a special issue and a letter from Neil Gaiman basically begging us to stock it on the shelf because the sales were so bad it was going to be canceled in 4 issues. And he and Karen Berger thought this was an important comic. Of course, sales did go up, but it did go to its completion. But it wasn't until they started doing trade paperbacks and people preferred buying the trade paperbacks to the point where by the end, they would put out a new trade paperback and it would sell more copies than the comic, which had never happened. And that's what kind of started if we put these in a trade paperback and put them in bookstores, people will buy comics. Before that, trade paperbacks were just kind of haphazard. Here's one. They did Dark Knight and Watchmen and were shocked that anybody wanted them. Because back then they were thought of as reprints. Oh, reprints. They're not collectible. But with Dark Knight, people went, no. I want to have the trade paperback. And with Watchmen, it started getting attention outside of comics. But that was rare. Didn't happen much. Sandman was the one where all of a sudden, hey, Sandman's up for a Hugo Award. By the way, they changed the Hugo Award so that no comic could ever win in best short story category ever again. Comic books are showing up on the New York Times bestseller list. If you've never read Sandman, it is one of the best comic series ever. Made Neil Gaiman a worldwide superstar, is well worth your money. And putting it out in 4 books is a really cool idea. Joe?
On the next page, I'm just going to point out The Nice House on the Lake, Volume 1. If you did not listen to me and pick up the comic books, here's your chance to jump on this. It's a 12-issue series. This collects
the first 6.
Yeah. I'm just looking for it. I don't have my readers with me. So.
And number 7 is on the next page.
Yep, right across from it. So here's your chance to jump on board. Let's see. I'm going to jump to page 44. 44. Up in the right corner, Batman versus Big B. If I'm saying that right. A Wolf in Gotham. This is a crossover with Fables universe. And I'm not sure if I have all my Fables yet, but this is the graphic novel that I'm going to get it because Big B and Batman obviously butt heads as Big B Wolf crosses the dimensional divide and heads into let me just read it here. It says, somebody scouring Gotham for a very powerful book, and they're covering their tracks with acts of horrific book-related terrorism. That book's power flows from Fabletown, which means it's fallen to Big B Wolf to cross the dimensional divide and find it before it lands in the wrong hands. Fortunately for Big B, the Batman doesn't take kindly to interlopers in his city, and neither man backs down easily. 6-issue series, so I'm definitely going to jump on this one.
If you go to page 39, Mad Magazine number 25 is the 70th anniversary issue. Yes, it's all reprints, but it's good reprints, okay? It's good reprints. It's not extra pages, sadly, but I think they'll be pulling out some special stuff for it. The April issue includes wide variety of classic parodies, Spy vs. Spy, Sergio Aragona's, blah, blah, blah. The reprint of Mad Magazine has been fun because usually they're around a theme. So for the 70th anniversary, what I really hope is that here's a great Mort Drucker parody. Here's one of Sergio Aragona's best articles. Here's one of Al Jaffe's best articles, etc., etc., etc. And you're not going to find this on newsstands. Now, what you will find on newsstands, they're doing like big the trade paperback, but they're magazine-sized books every few months, reprinting classic material as well. So while Mad is in a weird place because they currently, if you look at the latest issue, they don't have an editor. Nobody's listed as editor.
Nobody wants a job.
And they're basically just doing reprints to keep the trademark and copyright alive. But hey, they're reprinting the good stuff. Joe?
Can you do 2 pages at once?
Yeah.
Page 30, page 46. I'm sorry, 31. On page 31, DC League of Super Pets, the great mix-up all-new story. I'm kind of on the fence on this one. I haven't seen the movie yet, but this takes place immediately from where the movie leaves off, and I loved the trailer for the movie DC League of Super Pets there. And then, of course, if you go to page 46, well, how about some original tales? That's Tails of the Super Pets. This is a collection of the classic tales from the Silver Age comics. Meet Crypto, the Super Dog, Streaky, the Super Cat, Ace, the Bat Hound, and much, much more. A bunch of action, but I mean, this is the type of stuff that's just kind of fun. So I'm going to keep my eyes open. If the budget doesn't get broken, and believe me, we haven't talked about omnibuses yet. It's these are 2 books that are definitely on the yeah, I want them. I want them.
I am going to talk omnibuses because if you turn back a page to page 45, 45, the Phantom Stranger Omnibus, which was the series from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and up into the 80s.
Oh, I am on this like Oprah on a canned ham. Yum, yum. I canned or baked. Either way, I'm on it. Because Phantom Stranger is by far my favorite character in the DC universe. And I, at one time, had a lot of these. I think I had 1 or 2 of the... Well, do you remember there was a guy in Denver who skimmed money off the state because he worked in the tax offices and he used it to buy comics.
I do remember hearing that story.
And eventually what the state did, or I don't know if it was the IRS or the state, they seized the comics, they put them at auction. I won the Phantom Stranger #1 from that auction. And what I found out later is I beat our good buddy Nick Post out. For some reason, he didn't. He must have just bid on it or didn't see it or whatever. I sold that to him. It comes with a certificate saying this is part of the IRS collection. I believe that's what it said. And of course, in the kerfuffle that was after Nick passed away, it disappeared. Nobody's found it. I've talked to people who were close with Nick. I've talked to his son and said, hey, I would love, love, love to get this comic back. Not only because everything I sold to Nick, I sold with, and it was always, well, you have rights of first buy if I do sell it. He never sold anything. So if you do see that out there. Anyways, the point is, I've had, 5 issues, I think, originally? And I think I had 1, 3, and 5. And eventually just sold them. And yeah, I don't regret
gave up.
I do still have
quitter.
The 60s and the 70s Phantom Stranger run. And I do have the showcase appearances, which I don't know are part of this. But anytime he shows up, and believe me, when JLA Avengers hit and he showed up in there, I was like, squee! It'd be nice. I wonder if the JLA appearance is in this. I don't care. I'm buying this baby. This was on the, when I can't tell you, I literally squealed out loud and I haven't giggled since my wedding night, but when I saw this thing, I was like,
I'm not holding my breath because this is like the second or third time they've said they're going to put it out. We do get some reprints.
It will ship maybe in May. And as you saw at the beginning of the Marvel, the Image stuff, they at least they're out front. They said, hey, due to the global supply chain crisis, many of the release dates on forthcoming launches and collected editions are subject to change.
Yeah.
I just found on the Kickstarter, Bill Tucci just got his She Omnibus, his Kickstarter, finally in his hands. And it's been a while. And, it's just the way it is. I can't even think of how many omnibuses I'm waiting for.
I want to point out they are reprinting the DC 1 Million Omnibus, which was Grant Morrison's big Justice League crossover story. And the gimmick of the story was that if DC Comics continue to go, in the 83rd century, many of the books will hit their 1 millionth issue. So they did the 1 millionth issue of these books. And the story was that the heroes of the 83rd century come back to the modern century, as does the Sun Eater. Was it the Sun Eater? Or no, it was something. It was
Solaris.
Solaris, the tyrant
living star.
sun.
Yeah, which is, to me, one of the visually most scary villains that has never returned.
Probably because nobody understands it, but
yeah.
Morrison.
Well, I did. And I thought it was pretty brilliant, and they even. Well, how old is this? I guess I'm not.
It's 25 years old, Joe. How's that make you feel?
Yeah, I'm not. And Cory knows how much I hate giving away spoilers, especially for someone who's never read this before. But what happens is, in order to save the future, they have to create this thing in the past, and then they, as it's forming its sentience, they throw it way across the universe. And somewhere in that massive crossover, which I haven't read and enjoyed, they say they know it will return sometime in their lifetime. And then, of course, New 52 came about, and they've never revisited it. But to me, it's like, wow, just unless it, like you said, it's people are like, well, it's something Morrison did, and we're really not quite sure if we can figure. He even commented about that one. He wonders if he's like the crazy guy on the fringe of comics, where people say, I don't understand what you're writing, but I accept it.
And the weird thing is, now, I don't want to go deep dive into Morrison, but I remember I read his stuff and it all clicks for me. And I think that means that my brain doesn't work right. But people say he hates all old comics. And I just want to slap him and say, no, he loves them. If you read his stuff is like Silver Age DC, except not written for kids. It's the same batshit crazy stuff that DC did. When you do get that Tales of the Super Pets, and you don't read it with nostalgia, and you don't read it as kid stuff, and you just look at the ideas, it's batshit insane. Comet the Super Horse is one of the strangest goddamned ideas in the world. It's a centaur from outer space who gets turned into a horse and is in love with Supergirl.
Oh my.
Doesn't that sound like something Grant Morrison would do? Grant Morrison just did the kind of stuff they did in the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
At DC. He may have had a modern twist, but I could see Danny the Street, a living, sentient street that travels place to place, in an old DC comic. Shall we go to Marvel?
We shall. Now, I have the Marvel previews.
I do too, but it's digital, so,
okay.
There will be some pausing as I scroll.
And unlike me, Cory won't complain bitterly. So, but I will start right away on page 2.
Well, why don't we start with the cover? Because you look at the cover and you're like,
it's the same thing.
Miles Morales #1, and it's Miles Morales dressed as Captain America.
No, not mine.
Oh.
On the previews, we've got the Immortal X-Men on one side, and on the other side, you've got Carnage #1, a blood-curdling new symbiote saga. So look, they're already kind of mixing it up. However, in the inside covers, you got Strange #1, and there's What If Miles Morales #1, the ultimate super soldier. So maybe we should just go round robin on this, and they're
doing 2 What If series, by the way.
Ooh.
Because the other cover is Captain Carter, which is kind of a spin-off of what happened in the What If TV series. What if Peggy Carter became the world's first super soldier?
That's on page 14 if you got the Marvel previews. 5-issue miniseries. Jamie, I can't pronounce the name. Sorry, Jamie. McKelvey. And
Marika Cresta.
I'm glad you can do this. In reality, where Agent Peggy Carter took the super soldier serum and is turned upside down when World War II hero is pulled from the ice where she was lost in actions decades before. Peggy struggles to find her footing in a modern world that's gotten a little more complicated. Cities are louder, technology is smarter, enemies wear friendly faces. Everyone with an agenda wants Captain Carter on their side, but what does Peggy want? And would she have time to figure it out when mysterious forces are gunning for her? So I would say, people, pick up a dozen of these. Sit on them. This is her first comic book appearance. I have no idea what I should say Captain Carter. I have no idea what Peggy Carter's first appearance is.
Captain America Comics #1 in 1940.
So get cracking. But yeah, I mean, just look at Edge of Spider-Verse #2. So yeah, this looks good. The Miles Morales looks good. The one I was talking, of course, was on page 4, Immortal X-Men #1. In the Quiet Council, no one can hear you scream. The Quiet Council rules the Krakoan age for better or worse. Now shaken by Inferno and the X-Lives, X-Death of Wolverine, which I didn't read. I'll probably pick up the trade.
Not out yet.
It's being solicited later.
Yeah.
They strive to hold. See that? These are like our subnotes. Remember how the little. So you follow along. Hold together no matter how much they want to tear each other apart. Let's see. Kieran Gillen. Yep. Uncanny X-Men, Externals, The Wicked, and the Divine Die, which we've talked about ad nauseum. Returns to the world of X with Lucas Wernick from Trial of Magneto to bring us into the room where it all happens. It being the most powerful people on Earth, deciding the fate of the whole planet. Prepare for sinister secrets to be revealed and learn that some secrets are more sinister. Hey, there he is. He's on the cover than others. Tons of variant covers. This is one of those I'm going to try. You got 6 issues to interest me. If not, I will sell it on the eBays and move on. And then pick up the omnibus a couple of years from now.
Basically, this is where they're going with the X-Men now that Hickman has left. They're going to keep the idea of Krakoa.
Could be interesting.
We get a new Marauder series.
Yeah, there's all sorts of new stuff coming up. Larry Hama and Andrea DeVito are doing Wolverine Patch #1, 5-issue miniseries, returning to Madripoor with the man called Patch. This will take place. Let's see. All new action, intrigue, espionage wait for you as legendary creator Larry Hama returns with a story set before his original run on Wolverine. That's what I was looking for. Nick Fury, the original, will be there. Yes, 2 patches for the price of 1. 5-issue series. Looks to be fun. Dan Jurgens is doing a variant cover. So is John Romita Jr. Oh, just the choices.
The only thing I absolutely loved about Patch was Peter David throwing in a quick line later on after they'd done the whole thing, because what it was, they wanted to separate Wolverine from the X-Men. So Chris Claremont said, well, he goes to Madripoor and he wears an eye patch, and they call him Patch. And later on, Peter David had somebody say, call Wolverine Patch. He was like, what? I didn't know people knew that I was doing that. Yeah, we knew you wanted to go off and play, and we humored you.
I remember that.
A lot of new stuff for Marvel, including Strange #1.
This should be interesting.
Doctor Strange is dead. There is a new Sorcerer Supreme. They have spoiled the ending of the death of Doctor Strange.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Clea longs to bring Stephen Strange back from the dead, but when a mysterious group attacks the magic realms, Clea must rise to the duties of Sorcerer Supreme, for she is now the sole protector of Earth against magic threats. Jed MacKay continues the story from Death of Doctor Strange. I love Doctor Strange. I'm actually really digging the Death of Doctor Strange. I don't understand why the book never sells. Even during the 70s, when it was the super cool book that, everybody who was on it was dropping all sorts of acid, it was still bi-monthly. It never sells, and everybody at Marvel wants to do a Doctor Strange book. The book right after that, though, is the one that I am super geamed about. Punisher #1 by Jason Aaron.
Oh.
Now, this is the one where he's going to get a new shirt, a new logo on his shirt. And people are like, oh, I don't like the new logo, blah, 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 blah. The problem is the logo has become something that has been adopted by white supremacists. And it's a lot like Pepe the Frog, where you could sue and sue and sue and sue and sue. And you may even win, but it won't change the fact that those people have kind of stolen your logo and are using it. So they're going to change the logo. Jason Aaron, who wrote Thor, who wrote Conan, who's writing Avengers, is so good at these, for lack of a better term, men's adventure stories. I'm sure he's going to do a ground level, but based in the Marvel Universe, Punisher book that will be flat out action and manless. Ugh.
That's page 22 for those of you who are lucky enough to have the catalog.
Yeah, I don't. On the digital, there are no page numbers, believe it or not.
Yeah, although they seem to be in the same order that the catalog has, which is nice. Yeah. On page 49, continuing out of Fantastic Four, Reckoning War, The Trial of the Watcher. This is a one-shot. In all the multiverse, there is only one what if that how do you say it? Uatu has avoided watching. One what if that he never wished to see, and now it will be revealed. The story that could damn him for all time. Could change everything in this universe. It's got Fantastic Four, Galactus, Silver Surfer. It's a one-shot. Yeah, I'm in.
Also, this is the end of the Spider-Man Beyond story. They have the final, is it 4 issues of the Spider-Man Beyond story. Yeah. Spider-Man's going to be starting with the new #1. They've announced the writer as of today. They announced the artist yesterday. Zeb Wells, who was working on Spider-Man Beyond, and John Romita Jr. coming back to the book and back after 12 years away.
Don't worry, it's not in this issue, but
no,
you just know what's coming.
And it kind of makes me a little sad because I've loved Patrick Gleason's art on Spider-Man. Loved his art on Spider-Man. And I wish he would just be able to get a run where he's the artist. But it's been, he does a couple issues here and a couple issues there and an issue here and an issue there. And I understand that they want Spider-Man out every week. But, man, what I would give for just a straight Patrick Gleason run. But I have liked the Spider-Man Beyond story.
Yeah, I didn't think I would, but I've been on board for it. Page 59, Women of Marvel #1. Celebrate the phenomenal women of Marvel with tales spun from their greatest minds in comics. And you can see, there's Storm, Black Panther, there's Peggy Carter, it looks like, Wasp. Or no, that's not Peggy Carter, is it? Is that Ms. Marvel?
I'm scrolling down as fast as I can.
But you got women superstars, Charles Jane Anders, Mirka Andolfo, Jordi Bellari. So these are fun books.
No, that's America Vasquez.
Oh, okay. And Jubilee's there. Yeah, the ones I've picked up so far, I've enjoyed reading, and they're not terribly expensive for what you get. It's a one-shot. So I'll be picking this up. I got to decide, as usual, the variant covers. I do appreciate when Marvel shows the variant covers, and sometimes on Discount Comic Book Service they show them as well, but not all the time.
Joe, you skipped a book that's worth a lot of money.
Well, yeah, but if you don't know that.
Amazing Spider-Man 238.
Yeah, But I have this one, so I don't care.
Oh, no, you don't have this one because this is a facsimile edition.
Oh, yeah.
Sadly, it will not have the tattoos in it.
Oh, well, see, that's a reason not to have it.
I remember because I got mine from the comic shop and it said on it, comes with blah, blah, blah tattoos. And I opened it up and I looked, there aren't any tattoos in this. And the guy who owned the shop was like, yeah, there aren't any in any of them. I guess the tattoos were only in the newsstand version.
Huh.
But the tattoos make it worth more. I don't know if that's true anymore, but I remember when Hobgoblin was a big deal. If it had the tattoos in it, it was worth almost twice as much.
What number was that?
238.
238.
First Hobgoblin. And one of these days, Joe.
Oh my gosh.
I want you to write this down. We need to do an episode on how Marvel screwed up the Hobgoblin so bad he literally can't be used anymore. Because I know all the behind-the-scenes stuff now.
Good for you.
There's a hint.
All right, let's get rid of these. I'm just trying to find it here. I'm already at like $200, and I've got Mexican variants. And 188 missing tattoos. I haven't found any. Geez, after that, now we got graded ones. Okay, maybe, yeah, if you don't have this, okay, here's one for $300. I can't tell if it's with the tattoos or not.
There was a point where Hobgoblin was the coolest villain at Marvel.
There's a bid going for $300, no tattoos. I don't see any with tattoos.
Because there weren't any in the direct sales market.
With tattoos. Dun, dun, dun. 7 items with tattoos. Starting at a mere $525.
Jesus God.
Well, this one was signed by Roger Stern. Graded now, it jumps to $650. That's an 8.5. So yeah, there's a 9.4 for $1,199. Okay, you talked me into it. If you don't have one, first of all, if I have mine, I'm probably going to eBay it. But second, here's your chance to jump on board. Unless you're super rich, and then you probably aren't listening to us anyways. Now this is the type of crap that depresses me. Really? It's worth that much friggin' money, and I bought it for 60 cents? Guys, go back to the Godzilla. Buy 10 of them.
That was it for me on regular comics.
Yeah, me as well. Now
where our wallets go.
I've got like 4 things I'm buying. I don't know if you just want to rattle through and I'll just say, yep, buying that.
Well, I will rattle through the ones I'm buying.
All right.
And I do like to point out the omnibuses.
Oh, yeah.
The Miles Morales Spider-Man, they're doing 2 omnibuses that reprint all of the stuff, basically up to him joining the Marvel Universe. So, and the weird thing is, because it was coming out so fast, you forget that Brian Michael Bendis wrote 300 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man. 300 issues altogether. Crazy. There are 2 omnibuses that reprint all the stuff in the Ultimate Universe. By the way, big money. Ultimate Fallout number 4, probably worth more than your house at some point. But the first one I'm getting is Extreme X-Men by Chris Claremont, Omnibus Volume 1. Extreme X-Men, after Claremont was booted off the X-Men by the editor who said, no, Jim Lee should be in charge. And then Jim Lee left less than a year later. When that editor was pretty much gone, Chris Claremont came back to Marvel. They couldn't have him take over the main X-Men book for a little while, so they gave him his own book, Extreme X-Men, which were pretty much his favorite characters and the ones nobody else was using. Penciled by Salvador LaRocca for the most part, and this book was reprinted from his pencils because the printing had gotten good enough that they could reprint from LaRocca's pencils, and his pencils are just beautiful. If you are a Claremont fan, this is good stuff. If you're not a Claremont fan, you're going to read it and go, what? But I'm a Claremont fan. I am not getting Avengers versus X-Men Omnibus, but I do want to point it out because when they did this originally, they did an X-Men versus Avengers book that reprinted the main miniseries, and then they reprinted it. Then they had an omnibus that had all the tie-ins, and this is the first time they're shoving them all together.
I'm getting this, and I'm not sure which. I will probably end up getting the main cover there that shows everybody just kind of clashing together.
Yeah, that X-Men, that Wolverine versus Captain America cover is not good.
So this is the one. This is what I'm waiting for. Omnibuses like these. So I'm definitely getting this one.
Heroes Reborn. No, not the Heroes Reborn from the 90s. This is the recent miniseries and tie-ins they did where something happens. The Avengers never existed, and instead, the main heroes of the Marvel Universe were the Squadron Supreme by Jason Aaron and a whole bunch of other people. I read the main book. Absolutely loved it. Read some of the tie-ins on Marvel Unlimited. Liked it. Really fun story. Really fun story. They're doing another Star Wars omnibus. It reprints the Dark Horse stuff. And then a book that I bet Joe's buying as well. X Factor by Peter David, Omnibus Volume 2.
Absolutely.
This was his return to X Factor, where he did a Matt Drox miniseries and then started a new X Factor series. This was after the No More Mutants, if I remember right.
I don't remember because this is stupid Kray. I bought every issue because I like Peter David. I like supporting him. I never read them. And then when my purge happened, was it 5 years ago? 6? I just got rid of them all because I figured, you know what, I'm going to just pick them up in trades eventually.
And now you can pick them up in a big book.
I know, that's what I waited for because I've got Volume 1 upstairs somewhere, I think, unless it's waiting to come. And
nope, it came out a little while ago.
Okay, so I have it. And then this has hopefully everything else in it, so I'll have it all. I'll be able to read it. I'm so excited.
On the next page is another What If Omnibus, and they call it What If Into the Multiverse Omnibus Volume 1. What it is, there was the What If series from the late 70s into the 80s, and then the end of the 80s, they found out they had a What If story sitting in a drawer, basically. And they were like, oh, well, yeah, we're going to print this. And it sold far better than they thought. So they brought back What If. This reprints that What If #1, which was an okay Iron Man story. And then the regular series, What If 1 through 39. I did not think that the second What If series was as good as the first because it was regular sized. The double size let them expand the alternate universe a little more, but these are fun. You get a lot of people. By the way, What If #1 that had been sitting in a drawer was drawn by Steve Ditko.
You guys got to clear your drawers open.
See, and reprint wise, they're reprinting the Ultimates by Mark Miller and Brian Hitch omnibus, the John Byrne omnibus that I was able to pick up for like $30 2 years ago. They're reprinting it.
I have it. I listen to people badmouth Byrne, but damn it, he was on all cylinders when this came out.
I liked his Fantastic Four run, except this was where we finally got to see who John Byrne really is the last year because he was completely half-assing it.
But that's in Volume 2.
Yep, that's in Volume 2.
So don't worry about it. Volume 1's fun.
As for the Marvel Masterworks,
I like
by Night.
Those look so cool. But I got him in omnibus.
Werewolf by Night. So there's another series. Then back to omnibuses, we get the Venomnibus by Donny Cates and Stegman, who just completed their run on Venom, which made the character hot seller, hot book, and led to the King in Black, which is also getting an omnibus.
Don't care.
I thought King in Black was a cool idea.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of it in Marvel Unlimited, so I am picking it up. The problem with it was, oh, look, it's yet another invasion of the Marvel Universe by aliens. After we'd already had that story twice in the last year.
Yeah.
It's funny, the X Lives and X Deaths of Wolverine already, here's the hardcover of it already. First issue hasn't even come out yet.
I was going to point that out, and I'm kind of like, it looks like a good package. I may wait for the soft cover.
Yeah.
But
it's not worth $75. It's not worth $75.
No, not when your omnibuses are running for, $125 and stuff. And yeah, we get a discount, but nope. Gonna wait on that one.
The Peach Momoko series, Demon Days, is being reprinted in treasury size, which makes me a little angry that I bought it in regular comic size when I saw it. I saw the 3 issues that are already out on deep discount at one of the shops we stopped at, Rock Hopper Comics.
Yeah.
And now it's, you're going to be putting it out in treasury size where it'll look even better. So I'm wavering. I'm so wavering because it's a beautiful, beautiful book. What it is, Peach Momoko takes the X-Men and puts them into Japanese mythology stories. Just beautiful, beautiful art. You are now an Epic collection fan, if I remember right.
Well, I was going to start a new, how would you say, segment as to which Epic I would buy, because I'm slowly going to start replacing everything that I don't have an omnibus into a color Epic, because I read the Marvel 2-in-1 and loved it. However, I have 3 omnibuses today. I haven't gotten to the 4th one yet because we haven't done the others yet. Not to mention the Thor by Jason Aaron Volume 5 comes out as well. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait on that.
Well, the Epic collections
as I walk through comic shops, so I do look because I think, hey, maybe I'll just grab a Epic 1 or Epic 2, and there's not a lot of shops that really keep the Epics in stock, which is really too bad.
I find that weird because Marvel has said they're going to keep them in print.
Yeah,
and when they go out of print, they go for stupid money.
Was because I just finished reading the Eternals, Thor, Celestial Odyssey. I don't have the book in front of me. I wanted to figure, okay, well, there's issue 201 to cover, 203 to when Walt Simonson started.
No, it's 301.
301. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, 300. Yeah, the Thor was always a lot higher numbered than everybody else. A godly number. So, but you got that large stretch between that and when he started, Walt Simonson started. The one I was tempted on picking up was the Ghost Rider Epic Collection, Hell on Wheels. Because that starts out with Marvel Spotlight, 5 through 12, his own run, 1 through 11, and then throws in Marvel Team Up as well. So that's what I do like about the Epics. And they don't do it necessarily in the Essentials. They put in issues that tend to cross over with it. So if everything pans out okay, and I don't think it will because 3 omnibuses, that would be the Epic I would buy. I would start at 1 and just go forward and read it till it's done.
And the weird thing is they've got the Incredible Hulk Epic Collection, Crossroads Volume 13. And as I'm looking, it's $297 to $313. This was when I actually dropped Hulk. Because it was, okay, we've had the intelligent Hulk. Now we're going to have Hulk who's just a raging monster. And he's going to be hopping from dimension to dimension. And I thought there could not possibly be something I could give less of a shit about. And not to be cruel, but yeah, nobody else did either because Hulk's sales just plummeted during this time. And the reason Bill Mantlo had done this because Hulk's sales were down anyway. And I'm going to bring up, again, older fans talking about, I miss the childlike Hulk. Well, the reason they got rid of the childlike Hulk was because by the 80s and the TV show had ended, sales just started drooping. So they said, okay, let's do a story trying this. Let's do a story trying this. And it got to the point after John Byrne took over and after 6 issues had a hissy fit and left because he turned in a all splash page issue without letting anybody in editorial know. And they said, no, fine. I'm taking my toys and leaving. Nobody wanted to take over the book. They had Al Milgrom do it because he was in the office, but they were trying so hard to find somebody. Sales were in the toilet. Nobody cared. They weren't getting letters on the book. And they gave it to Peter David, who was in sales, just to get him to shut up because they figured, okay, if we give it to this idiot in sales, the sales will keep dropping. We can cancel it and we can tell him, see, you're not a writer. Go back to your desk.
But he picked up this
and we know how
cat
that looked out.
Called, what was that guy's name? McFarlord?
Todd McFarlane.
He'll never last.
Who had done a poorly selling series over at DC called Infinity Incorporated. And I'm serious, that book didn't sell well either. And when Todd McFarlane came on, it was because, okay, he does some okay stuff. He's cheap. Literally, we could pay him the lowest page rate. And Hulk made him a superstar, and then he went over to Spider-Man. But this is the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that people don't think about. Well, I miss when this character was like this. Well, that's great, and I'm glad you love that nostalgia.
No, you didn't. You weren't buying it.
But sales were in the toilet. Nobody cared. It's like Nova. I want Nova back the way it was in the 70s. Well, you're the only one because the book was canceled due to terrible sales. And then anytime we put him on a cover, nobody cared.
Nobody cared. All right. Anything else, Marvel? Anything else, Marvel, you're looking to buy?
No.
All right.
By the way, the small size Marvel Masterworks is Avengers Volume 2.
Cool.
So it's Avengers 11 through 20. I've actually seen these out in the wild.
Yeah, I've seen a few of them. They are nice.
Yeah.
I bought one for Christmas for my let's see, brother-in-law's girlfriend's son. I have no idea what he thinks of it, but he wasn't there. I wanted to impress upon him. These are the original stories by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, because he probably has no idea who Steve Ditko is. But
how dare he?
How dare he? So I said, you're going to see things that probably weren't in the original. You know, this is before Mary Jane. This is before Gwen Stacy. I'll figure it out. I imagine I'll revisit that eventually when I finally hear, like, hey, did he like it or not? All right, now the rest. Are you ready?
Yes. Now,
all right, people.
I have been buying Cerebus in Hell, which Dave Sim can't draw anymore. So he's basically taking
physically. Something's with his hands. It's not. We're not just saying he's, he's a bad artist. He can't draw anymore. No, that's not what we're saying.
So what he's doing, he's taking some Cerebus figures he's drawn and some old stuff from old 15th century books and shoving them together to make a comic strip. And it's in Cerebus in Hell. But Joe didn't know this. There is about to be a 5-issue Cerebus limited series wherein Cerebus makes a deal with Satan to come back to Earth. His grandson has become the king and is fucking things up. And Cerebus has a chance to stop him. Written by Dave Sim, the artist, I have yet to find who the artist is, but this is a legit miniseries that I guess the first 2 issues are already done. And they did them in secret, announced it when the second issue was complete.
Cool. Look forward to that.
Yeah. So let's get into the rest of the books.
The other omnibus I was talking about, page 214 under Abstract Studio, Serial, the omnibus. I've read individual issues of this. It's Zoe from Rachel Rising. When Zoe's friend falls victim to a female serial killer, Zoe vows to find the killer before the police and deliver her own razor-edge justice. But the clever assassin proves to be very hard to find as Zoe follows the trail of bodies and the few clues left behind. I absolutely love Terry Moore's stuff, and I will buy it in the, again, there's a hardcover, softcover. I will probably go softcover because I think that's what my other well, I'll have to go look. That's what my other omnibuses are. I buy anything he's got in that type of form. The only thing I haven't bought is his original Strangers in Paradise because I already have those in kind of a collector digest. And they're not things that I reread over and over, but they are things that I will go back to eventually. So I'm kind of like, I don't really feel I need to go the omnibus route, but they do look good. So who knows? Maybe I'll have one of these days where I'll have no Marvels, no DC omnibuses, and I can afford to just go for it. What's your first one, I should say?
Page 262. Our friends at Binge Books are back again with the new book called The Headset. In the beginning, 2 ninth grade misfits finally unlock the secret of mental telepathy, only discovered that the most popular girl in their school is also the most powerful telepath of all. It's a 58-page book for $5. The one book I've gotten from them, I really like. And I like that, they put out books that use older creators, and they're at a decent price. It's, a double-sized book for $5. Give them a chance. I'm ordering. Now, if the books finally do come out and they suck, yeah, I'll be done.
Oh yeah, you'll hear it. Maybe not. We don't dwell on the negative.
I will put it in a freaking. But so far, the one book I've gotten from them, I've liked. Joe?
All right, let's see if I can read this right. Page 237. There's two right on top of it. First of all, we've got My Bad from Ahoy Comics, which is done by our good buddy P. Krause, which absolutely hilarious book. Right under that is The Wrong Earth, Trapped on the Teen Planet one-shot. The first of 5 unique one-shots building and expanding on the world of Ahoy's The Wrong Earth, which I'm not sure if My Bad and the one above it is part of or not. But it's written by Gail Simone. Bill Morrison is doing the art with, among other people. First off, there's an extra long story from Gail as grim and gritty vigilante Dragonfly is whisked to an alternative Earth of teenagers, malt shops, love triangles, and school dances.
Oh, fun.
Will this innocent world soften him, or will this violent method poison him? A couple variant covers, including one by Gene Ha and Don Parent, so choose accordingly. Right under that, Sort of Super graphic novel by Eric Gatsper. It's out of Aladdin Books. 11-year-old Wyatt Flynn had something amazing happen to him. He got superpowers. Good ones, too, like super flight, super strength, and super speed. The only problem? Well, he got it totally by mistake and in Marvel-style accident at his dad's work. And his dad thinks he's too young to have superpowers. Plus, his dad also worries about what would happen if everyone found out. So he makes Wyatt hide them. Keeping his superpowers a secret from his best friends is bad enough, but not being able to use them to defend himself and his friends from the biggest bully at school, that's just the pits. If you ask Wyatt, as Wyatt learns or tries to navigate middle school and deal with his newfound sort of super status, he also grapples with the questions about the mysterious disappearance of his mother. Where did she go? What would she think about his accidental superpowers? There's a softcover for $12.99 and a hardcover for $20.99. Choose accordingly.
Page 290, we get to Fantagraphics. This is a book that Michael T. Gilbert already has a copy of and could not praise enough. Of course, it's edited by him, so of course he's going to love it. Tops, the complete collection of Charles Biro's visionary 1949 comic book series. In 1949, Charles Biro created Tops, an oversized comic aimed at adults, which lasted only 2 issues and has since become the holy grail among comic fans and historians. Until now, it's never been collected. Contributors include Dan Barry, who took over Flash Gordon from the original creator, George Tuska, Reed Crandall, among others. This compilation includes essays providing background on the creation of the series, the publisher, editors, and contributors who realized it. Tops is a landmark work and a mind-boggling reading experience, meticulously restored and reprinted in this deluxe hardcover at the original published dimensions. This is a book that I had not heard of until Michael Gilbert talked about, and this was one of the first attempts to kind of break out of the comic size and grab the readers who were buying regular magazines. Did not work, but very important historically, and Dan Barry's a fantastic artist. George Tuska. Sometime I will tell you the story about George Tuska and Crime Does Not Pay. I'm doing all these. I've heard this story. But George Tuska, there's a reason why everybody at Marvel, even though a lot of us kids at the time were like, what is this? Everybody at Marvel was like, oh my God, George Tuska's working here. And so on. First to the Fantagraphics books I'm getting. Joe?
On page 244, I'm going to point out Black Ops, USA, GI Bound for Battle. It's for your eyes only. It's collected combat records of America's daring, highly trained special mission Rabbit, USA GI. Buns of the Patriots. The Recondo Rabbit must infiltrate a North Korean stronghold and fend off both man and beast to defuse the threat of a nuclear warhead aimed at Hawaii. Can you not love it? It's got a Dave Dorman cover. Come on, I've talked this twice for you guys. I can't be repeating all of these things.
On page 291 at the bottom, it's also from Fantagraphics. Now, number 11, the New Comics Anthology. This is an annual anthology of short comics from around the world. I've been picking it up ever since Fantagraphics has been doing it. It's a really, you're not going to find any superhero stuff. It's very much short comics, artistic comics, kind of the highbrow stuff. I buy it every year. I really enjoy it. It's good reading. If you're mostly a superhero person, you're not going to like it. But if you're into art beyond that realm, this is almost a must read to see what's going on in the world of comics outside our little superhero bubble. Joe?
You got $1.99 on page 248, Soulfire #1 Special Edition. This is a special edition of Volume 1, Issue 1. So it's your chance to check out the Aspen Premier flagship title that started it all, back in an even better format as Michael Turner's hit magical adventure series Soulfire returns, which is right over on the, well, probably next month. But there you got 2 choices, overpage 40 page comic for $1.99. And there's a special variant edition, which you can, if you're lucky to find, and plus probably 500,000 store variants. So happy hunting, people. But I figure for $1.99, I've spent worse.
All right. I'm not buying anything on this page, but there's something I just want to point out with the pure absurdity of it. Joe, turn to page 292.
All right. Give me half a second. 292. I'm there.
All right. Do you see the comic in the upper right-hand side of the page?
I do believe I do.
The clitoris.
Yes.
Now look at the bottom of the page. What else are they selling on this page?
Well, I see Porn Basket along with Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck.
Yes, on the same page we have clitoris, Porn Basket, Walt Disney's Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck. Walt Disney's Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck in the Don Rosa Library Volumes 1, 2, and 3. I'm sure Walt Disney Productions is looking at that going, wait a minute. I don't know why that makes me laugh so hard, but it does. Joe.
All right, well, Cory gets the giggles. Back on 258 from AWA Upshot. Hit Me #1, a 5-issue miniseries. Christina Faust, Priscilla Petratus. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. Call us up, we'll get it right. A high-octane crime thriller. Lulu has a very unique profession. She gets paid by the bruise. When she's witness to the execution of one of her regular clients, she escapes into the night with only a briefcase filled with diamonds and a pack of killers on her trail. Navigating the dark underbelly of the decaying early 90s Atlantic City, one step ahead of her pursuers, Lulu must call upon every one of her street-born instincts and underworld connections in what will be her longest and quite possibly last night of her life. A couple of different variant covers to choose from. I'm in. Sounds good. 5 issues. You got me.
A while back, I asked if Fantagraphics was still in not Fantagraphics, Graffiti was still in existence. I've gone to their webpage. They have not updated it in a long time. However, they do have 2 pages here of 300 and 301 where they have they just call it the ultimate art format. These are the books that reprint the comics original art at the same size and on the same paper for a number of DC books, including Batman Dark Knight Returns, Sandman, Ronin, let's see here, Superman, Batman by Michael Turner, the Kelly Jones Batman stuff, the Kelly Jones Deadman miniseries, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and the Sam Keith Batman story. I don't know if these are new, but it does look like the gallery editions that were at IDW have moved over to Graffiti for at least DC, because I know DC said they would not be working with IDW anymore. So it looks like the DC gallery editions have moved over to Graffiti, so they do still exist.
Cool. On page 276, this is from Caliber Entertainment. Vietnam Journal, Hamburger Hill.
By Don Lomax.
Yeah, I have never read this. I'm not only am I a history fan, but I've got to get this. The Battle of Hamburger Hill took place May 13th through the 20th, 1969, and was fought by the U.S. Army and the Army of the Republic of Vietnam forces against the People's Army of Vietnam, i.e. South Korea versus North Korea. I'm sorry, Vietnam. I'm just a little ahead of myself. During Operation Apache Snow, the hill had little strategic value, but the U.S. command ordered its capture by frontal assault. Upon capture, the U.S. forces on the hill abandoned it, letting it fall into North Vietnam hands. This action caused a controversy both within the American military and back home with the public. Don Lomax, who served during the Vietnam War and puts to paper his experiences, tells the story of Hamburger Hill through the eyes of embedded war correspondent Scott Niederhammer. Anyways, yes. This is from a serial that appeared in Gallery magazine.
Which was a porn magazine. Vietnam Journal was a series he did for Apple Comics, which was kind of Wendy and Richard Peeney's comic publishing group in the 80s. It was a fantastic, fantastic series. It came out the same time as the NAM from Marvel, but because this was not published by Marvel, he got much more realistic than the NAM did when it came to the violence and moral ambiguity of the Vietnam War. His art is polarizing. I want to say that because his art, it's a lot like Tom Sutton's art in that he draws very well, but what he draws is really ugly. So it's a much more realistic comic war story. I have not read these because, believe it or not, I never bought Gallery magazine. And I believe Gallery, when it first started, was one of Martin Goodman's sweat magazines. Joe, while you give your next one, I'm going to look that up.
All right. So that was back on page 276. I'm going to go to page 284. allow you a moment to catch up. And there's a couple books there that caught my attention. The first one from Darby Pop Publishing, Girls Heist Out. Julia and Adrian Price are white-collar crime premier power couple. Got that? But when Adrian leaves Julia holding the bag, she assembles a crew of accomplished women to exact delicious revenge. Forget divorce. Julia's going to steal everything Adrian ever wanted right out from her his perfectly resculptured nose. So that caught my attention. Looks like it'd be kind of fun. The other one right across from it is Beautiful Darkness from Drawn and Quarterly. Newly homeless, a group of fairies find themselves trying to adapt to their new life in the forest as they dodge dangers from both without and within. Optimistic Aurora steps forward to organize and help build a new community. Slowly, the world around them becomes more treacherous as petty rivalries and factions form. Let's see, in 2014, this came a bestseller, instant classic when it came out. Here's a paperback edition. It says of the modern horror classic, and it adds material and sketches and unused art. So Drawn and Quarterly is your place to go if you want to jump on that one.
I have found Gallery was not one of the Martin Goodman magazines. However, ready for the weird part here, Joe?
What's that?
Gallery was launched by Ronald L. Felton and attorney F. Lee Bailey.
Huh.
Now, it was published by the company that bought a lot of Goodman's Men's Sweat magazines when Goodman was finally removed from his publishing empire. He sold the company in '68, but in the contract, he was to remain as kind of in charge of it for 5 years as it transitioned. I'm about to get into more Marvel history, Joe. And Goodman set everything up for his son Chip to take over when he left. However, when he left, the owners sold off all the men's magazines, and they put Stan Lee in as publisher. And when Chip Goodman said, I thought I was going to be publisher, the owner said, well, your dad wanted you to be publisher, but he's no longer with the company anymore. Nothing in the contract about keeping you on. Goodbye. Martin Goodman was so pissed about this, he started another comic company called Atlas Seaboard, which we will talk about at a later time.
Yes.
But that's why if you look at magazines like Gent and things like that, you'll see, oh, wow, they go back to the 50s. Well, back in the 50s, it was published by Martin Goodman, and they would have topless pictures and then stories of he-men saving women from weasels or lions or bears or whatever.
Oh my!
Matter of fact, if you have the Frank Zappa album "Weasels Rip My Flesh," the cover is a painting used on a Goodman magazine. The next one I have is on page 357 from Tashin America LLC. They're the ones who do these beautiful coffee table books with that cost a fortune. They're the ones who did that Stan Lee story written by Roy Thomas, which was $200, or that EC book that I drool over every time I see it. It costs a fortune. I will eventually buy it. I know I will.
It will be mine.
Marvel Comics Library, Spider-Man Volume 1. Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. This is a supersized volume collecting the first 21 issues of America's favorite web slinger. The most pristine pedigreed comics have been cracked open and photographed for reproduction with close collaboration with Marvel and Certified Guaranteed Company, with an in-depth historical essay by Marvel editor Ralph Macchio, original art, rare photographs, and other gems. These 698 pages of wall-crawling wonder will make anyone's spider sense tingle with anticipation. This has been out for a while. It's the first time in previews. It's a $200 book. A few artists that I follow on Facebook have it. It's as big as that EC book. And it's just beautiful. And they even have, the original art for Amazing Fantasy 15 is in the Smithsonian. They actually have photographs of the original art that are in this as well. Out of my price range, but who would have thought? When I was a kid, Origins of Marvel Comics, my mom was like, $5.95 for a comic book. I said, no, it's a real book. It's a real book. That kid back then, if you would have said, by the way, there's going to be this historical document done museum style of these comics, I would have said, no. But there you go.
Maybe more affordable. Back on page 285, still withdrawn and quarterly, a couple other graphic novels. First one, The City of Belgium by Breck Evans. As night falls in the city of Belgium, three strangers in their late 20s, a most dangerous age, arrive at a popular restaurant. Jonah's about to move away, calls his wife, who's already settled in Berlin, before trying to make plans with friends for one last night on the town. No one bites, but he's determined to make this night something to remember. Victoria is lively and energetic, but surrounded by friends and family who are buzzkills, always worrying about what is best for her. Oh, I'm going to try this name. Rodolfo? Yeah, he glumly considers his own misery and suddenly snaps out of it, becomes the life of the party. The three careen through the city's nightlife spots and underbelly, chasing pleasures or at least a few distractions from their daily lives. Each has a series of adventures that reveals them to be teetering on the edge between lucid dream and tooth-grinding nightmare. Underneath it, Leonard Cohen on a Wire by Philippe Gerard. Leonard Cohen opens in Los Angeles on the last night of the man's life. Scratch that. Start again. The book, Leonard Cohen, opens in Los Angeles on the last night of the man's life in 2016. Alone in his final hours, the beloved writer and musician ponders his existence in a series of flashbacks that reveal the ups and downs of a storied career. It's written with careful detail and attention and drawn in warm, lush colors. Philippe Girard, he's a Quebec-based cartoonist. So, between those four graphic novels, yeah, it's not all about porn world or clitoris. So, anyways, what you got next, my friend?
Page 362, another book from Hard Crime Publishing. Frankly, After Alcatraz. On June 11th, 1962, Frank Lee Morris performed the most daring feat of them all, escaping from Alcatraz. He was never found, presumed drowned in the San Francisco Bay. The FBI's case remains open to this day. He was forever immortalized in the Clint Eastwood film Escape from Alcatraz. Writer David Hasteda and artist Ludwig Chesnut celebrate the 60th anniversary of this most deadly feat with this homage graphic novel. Joe mentioned Christina Faust earlier. She is also a writer for Hard Case Crime. I will buy anything Hard Case Crime publishes because the editors are fantastic at picking out excellent material. Their comic line has been much the same. I buy their stuff sight unseen, even though we do have 3 pages in tiny, tiny print. And this is a story that fascinates me. Escape from Alcatraz. I was one of the first VHS movies I rented because it never ran on TV. And it was rated R, so I couldn't see it in the theater. So once we got a VCR, I was like, oh, I got to rent that. I got to watch that. Still love it to this day. Joe?
I'll just throw in a little sidebar. There's a series, I believe it's on Disney, where they drain the oceans. And they did one on this where they drained San Francisco Bay. And they found quite a few things and a few anomalies. And it's real interesting because they kind of, one of the experiments they did is at the same type of tide and time of day, they released buoys with trackers on them. And yeah, a few got swept out to sea, but not all of them did. It's because of, anyways, go look it up. It's fun. It'll add to the love of this book, and who knows. Cory, I was kind of looking up something. When you were in Fantagraphics, did you talk about Keeping Two?
I did not.
Okay, that's underneath Tops. Keeping Two by Jordan Crane. A woman leaves to get takeout in a movie, and her partner is forced to confront loss, fear, and insecurities in unexpected and shocking ways. 20 years in the making, this masterpiece from Jordan Crane is one of the most exciting works of graphic literacy fiction in recent memory. A brilliant drama that showcases an empathy and compassion for its characters, as well as Crane's considerable comic-making talents. So that's what I'm going to pick out. Also, God help you if you pick up Red Room Trigger Warnings 4. I respect you for it, though.
Yeah, that's real horror.
Oh, as long as I'm still here, I just wanted to point out Cross on page Fantagraphics, because we're giving them some love this week. Life of Che by Hector Germán Olderheld, drawn by Alberto Enrique Breccia. This is one of the most anticipated entries in Fantagraphics Alberto Breccia library. Originally released in '69, came out in Argentina only a year after Ernesto Che Guevara. Sorry, my tongue just, excuse me when I take a sip. And Cory, would you pronounce that poor guy's name?
I know.
Guevara. You know why? That's why they call him Che. He died, reached an audience. This will, and when it was published in Argentina, it reached beyond comic readers. But in the 1970s, the military government destroyed the means to reprint the book, making it a, air quote, lost comic until 1987 when it was published in Spain. It's never been translated into English until now. So this is your chance to catch up with this guy, Che, that is. Discover his childhood, his radicalizing motorcycle, his radicalizing, they hyphenated it, so it's like different sides of the paragraph, hard to read. Anyways, he had a motorcycle trip where he became a radical. He took up arms. He met Fidel Castro and his subsequent military and political maneuvering, and to a fade out to his death. So, again, Fantagraphics doing some fantastic stuff with things that people may or may not be paying attention to. All right.
The last big thing I have is on page 386 from Z2 Comics. 1 bourbon, 1 scotch, and 1 beer. 3 tales of John Lee Hooker. Normally, I would just kind of go, okay, it's another, but no, this one is written by Kyle Baker, known for all sorts of comics, including Why I Hate Saturn, King David, the Cowboy Wally Show. He did an excellent Plastic Man series. Joe actually picked up the books, The Bakers.
The Bakers, yeah, and I read it. It's brilliant.
He's so good. He actually was involved in my favorite run of The Shadow, which actually ended on a cliffhanger that was batshit crazy. The Shadow's head had been cut off and put onto a robot's body, and that's the last issue of DC Shadow till they rebooted it and took it back to the 30s and went more traditional. But yeah, the Kyle Baker Shadow series.
All right, what page is that on?
Insane.
What page? Not the Shadow. What page is that? Oh, there it is. Page 386.
Legendary bluesman John Lee Hooker lived more than one of his songs in this lived more life in one of his songs than the collective lifetimes of many. Spanning several decades of the American experience, 1 bourbon, 1 scotch, 1 beer, tells 3 tales of Hooker's storied life through the perspective of those who lived within his massive orbit, weaving textured and interpretive stories that rise to the lofty creative heights of his music and fall to the gritty reality of trying to thrive in several unforgiving eras. And that's it for me for new stuff. There's, some regular stuff that I normally get, the Warrant magazines. There's a new Maison Ikoku volume. The stuff from Tomorrow's, by the way, they are relisting two books that I cannot recommend enough. One is The American Comic Book Chronicles, the 80s, which fascinates me. And then Dingbat Love, which actually won an Eisner, which has unpublished Jack Kirby stories from DC.
All right.
Printed for the first time.
I've got three more things to cover under Source Point Press. I've talked about Ogre in the past by Bob Saley and Sean Daly. There's a special edition, re-release trade paperback collecting the bonus content and a short story on page 350. But on page 351, on the very top, number 1, I would take it as a personal favor if all of you would buy a copy of this. Comic shop owner isn't a job, it's a calling. It's in this full color, done in one issue story, explores 50 years of comic book history. Comics helped Steve through some tough times growing up, and he turned his love in the medium into a comic shop business. But is it worth the toll it takes on his family? Written by Gary Scott Beatty, featured the return of Adventures of Aaron Warner to comic book illustration.
I loved Adventures of Aaron.
So excited to see this. I've actually told Gary Scott Beatty that I've been telling everybody I can. I'm going to tell him we mentioned it on this here podcast. So it's $3.99, 32 pages. Yeah, go pick this one up as a personal favor to the Kray. Yeah, I'm really excited about that one. Let's see, what else do I got here? And the finale for me is on page 416. It's back in the manga section, which we don't normally journey into, but this one caught I do read through most of the manga. And as exciting it is to see the poor guy being attacked by all these beautiful women, which large koanas, if it's 16 part, I'm like, yeah. But if you give me, I guess for better lack, this is the whole thing. It's called The Solitary Gourmet. What do we learn about Mr. Oh yeah, I'm not pronouncing that. He's a sole independent trader importing household and fashion goods from France to Japan. He's always busy but never rushed as he travels around Japan selling his wares. He's a private person who, while he enjoys the company of women, prefers to remain a bachelor. He smokes cigarettes, does not touch alcohol, but above all, he enjoys his food. He is the solitary gourmet. There's 32 chapters in this, exploring another dish in another restaurant in another part of town, from Tokyo to Totori, from Osaka to the hospital. Yep. Even ventures to an Algerian restaurant in Paris, eating and observing. This is the entire thing, 32 chapters, which were created over 2 decades by the creators. Like an exquisite meal, this book should be savored over and over again. It caught my attention. Page 416 under Fanfare Presents Potent Mon. So that's it for me. Now we're here to introduce a new segment of our show. And I believe we're going to call this For Brian. Brian's one of our listeners who he said, I wish you'd often talk about the back page of the toys. We do occasionally when we see something we want. So I told Cory, let's kind of peek through and pick out 1 or 2 things that you would love to buy. If we had enough money to do whatever we wanted, blah, blah, blah. For me, I start on page 7, the Invincible Deluxe action figures. There's 2. There's down there, Invincible and, was it Omni-Man? Is that what he called himself?
Yes.
And above, the new one now is Atomic Eve and Robot. Oh, beautiful figures. I got a few more to pick, Cory. Do you have anything you want to pick?
Now, I've never been somebody who's into figures and toys and statues and stuff. I have picked up a few pop figures here and there, but there was something that intrigued me at the beginning. If you, I think the page isn't numbered, but it's like the third page. There are 2 Final Fantasy jigsaw puzzles from Japan. I am a huge Final Fantasy mark. I am currently slowly playing Final Fantasy 13 Part 2. And I say slowly because I have no time. And when I sit down to play Final Fantasy, I need to play it in 5 to 6 hour chunks, because that's when you get some story and then game and then story and then game and the story and the game. And a Final Fantasy game lasts anywhere from 40 to 100 hours. But I am a huge Final Fantasy mark. The first one is a Chocobo and the Flying Ship. And the second is a Chocobo Party. I am not a jigsaw puzzle person. I don't have the patience for it. But if I were to buy something in this section, it would be that. There were no Final Fantasy figures or statues. I also am a huge mark for One Piece, which is a long-running Japanese cartoon. And I believe every month they have tons of One Piece statues. And this time there are 2 pages on 56 and 57. Out of all of these, I would probably want to get the Maximatic Trafalgar Law figure. It's only $25, but these figures are more like mini statues than action. Yeah, I'm a big One Piece mark. Joe?
For me, on page 34, they got, I guess they're called reaction figures, kind of back from the days when action figures were only 3 inches tall. There's an RC and a Grimlock figure in the Transformer line that are kind of intriguing, which I may or may not buy. The next page, I wish I was born rich. Peanuts figures, reaction figures.
Those are very cool.
Oh, so sweet. On page 40, this one I will probably get. I was introduced to Machine Gun Kelly over Christmas. My niece actually had his T-shirt on, which was hilarious. And then I actually YouTube some music. So I'm thinking I might get that pop figure for her. And across from it, of course, is a Joan Jett figure, which I love. Again, I don't buy these. The only one I think I have is the Spam can. I'm not even sure where it is. I don't think I opened it. On page 64, there is, this cracked me up. I can't pronounce it. Chuding Q-Set 2-piece PVC figurine set. What got me, first of all, is the look of the expression on the ball guy's face. But apparently, the leader of the Muya gang who set off on a journey to grow hair and his second in command joined the Q-Set series. So yes, he's trying to grow hair. Speaking of Peanuts, on page 71 is an incredible, expensive, yet big Snoopy vinyl collectible doll. This baby's like $109. But just, why don't I have the money? And again, if you're a Boys fan, as in The Boys, go to page 80. There is The Boys Season 1 Billy Butcher, 1/6 collector action figure. You can get the normal version for a mere $260. And spend the extra $30 go $300 for the deluxe version. And that was for Brian.
And now let's see, how long has the show gone already?
I have no idea.
2 hours and 11 minutes.
Woohoo! That's an 11 minutes for you, Brian.
So here's the ads and the promos. Our newest sponsor is NordVPN. Let's be honest, if you're out on the internet, you need a VPN to protect you. There's all sorts of things going on the internet where people can track you. You could accidentally download a keylogger, all sorts of things. NordVPN gives the best security possible. It has a password manager which generates complex passwords, syncs across all your devices, stores your notes and credit card information. It also gives you 10 gigabytes of private cloud storage, secure files. It backs up your data automatically. But the main thing it gives you is peace of mind. It gives you peace of mind when you're out on the internet, when you're streaming, when you're playing games, when you're listening to podcasts like this one. It gives you safety anywhere at any time. It protects your online activity. You get full access to all content. And if you use the link go.nordvpn.net sh3ku, it'll take you to where you can get a great deal for a 1-month plan, a 2-year plan, a 1-year plan. They are our newest sponsor. We're happy to have them. And if you would like to sponsor something here at any of the podcasts on the Solitaire Rose Network, you can. Just email me, solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. Thanks. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network is currently on a pause, basically because COVID-19 has made it so that I have to work a lot of extra hours at both jobs, but you can still go and listen to my other podcasts. Now, you're probably listening to Crazy Comics and Stories, which is the main podcast, but on this same feed, KRAYZCOMIX, is Solitaire Rose Radio, the solo radio podcast that I do. I've done interviews, I've done short stories, I've done all sorts of things, and you can get to it right here on this same feed. I also do a podcast called Novelcast, where I take the novels I've written and turn them into free audiobooks. That's over at novels.solitairerose.com. Dangerous Dan Moore and I, and of course Wolfie B. Bad, give you bad advice over at badadvice.solitairerose.com. You send in your questions, and we give you the aforementioned bad advice. And then myself and Adam Vermillion from For the Love of Comics do the Fantastic Forecast at fantasticforecast.solitairerose.com, where we go through the issues of the Fantastic Four, 4 issues at a time, to give the plot and commentary on each issue. That's not all. Yes, I'm crazy. I still, over at pwinsiderelite.com, every week on Wednesday, do a recap of the latest episode of AEW Dynamite. I write up what happened, and then myself and Anthony Pyrus will do an audio. Now, you can only listen to the audio, if you remember, at pwinsiderelite.com, and if you're a wrestling fan, you should be, where we then break down the episode, talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, give it a grade, and let you know if you should have watched that episode. Those are the other podcasts here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network. Thanks. And Joe's got an eBay page, but I'm going to preempt it.
Well, I was just going to say, since we do these 2-hour shows, I'm not even going to mention the preview, the eBay page, even though lots of stuff is selling. I'm putting more stuff up all the time, and you know what to do to get a deal for me. Just send me a quick PM, say you listen to this here show, like some of you people have. But you know where to go. KRAYZ, come get some.
Now, Joe is going to do his freaking and geeking, but I am not, because
You're
something
not?
weird and special happened today, Joe.
Well, I'll tell you what. I will say, since I really don't have much freaking and geeking, I can save it for next time. I mean, I just want to mention that I got 55 days to Hawaii, and I am doing something with Boba Fett. These are geekings, by the way. I'm actually watching it as it comes out. Ooh. Usually I wait and I binge the series, but I watched it last night and I was like, oh yeah. Oh, come on, John, you're killing me here. That's it. But I'm having fun. So that's it. I'm going to back up and out. Let's see what Cory's got for us here.
I ordered some comics on Black Friday that obviously were delayed because the postman knocked on my door, and they say the postman only always rings twice, but no, he just knocked on the door and left. And there was a box with a bag on top of it, and I was like, what the hell's this? And I looked at it, was comics I ordered months ago that I forgot. So I've waited for an unboxing. Now, no, I'm not going to do all the eBay stuff, but I am going to open it up here. I've already got it open so you don't hear it. But here's the bag that was on top was from Amazon. It's a Gondwanaland comic. It's Gondwanaland Comics 2182, The Complete Green Sorceress. Now, why would I order this? Because she is Blue Bolt's #1 nemesis in the early days of the Golden Age. She is the emerald but evil Queen Norzimo, ruler of Voltar, whose main goal is to conquer the underground kingdom of Deltos. But Blue Bolt may have something to say about that. For the first 10 issues of Blue Bolt, they battled for supremacy, deftly illustrated by Jack Kirby and Joe Simon. She came back a year later for a brief set of appearances before fading into comic obscurity. That is until Gondwanaland brought her back to life and gave her this collection of her own. I ordered this because it was a Jack Kirby book from pre-Timely that I had never even heard of. It's in color. It looks like it's scanned directly from the comics. Let's see. Kirby didn't do all of it, though. It looks like Al Adamson did some assisting. Let's see. Yeah, there's Jack Kirby and others. Alan Mandel, who I don't know, did the revival was all by Alan Mandel. And it looks like he's trying very, very hard to do the Kirby thing. Not doing a good job. What is in the box from Cheap Graphic Novels? #1, it almost looks like an omnibus, but it's not. It is Infinity Wars by Gary Duggan, the complete collection, which is, let's see, a must-read for strongman characters, blah, blah, blah. The Infinity Stones return to transform the Marvel Universe. Reprints Infinity Countdown Prime, Infinity Countdown 1 through 5, Adam Warlock, Infinity Wars Prime, Infinity Wars 1 through 5, Infinity Wars Fallen Guardian, Infinity Wars, and all of the short stories. This is the story where Wolverine comes back from the dead and chases down the Infinity Stones. Book #2, Journey into Mystery, Masterwork, Volume 4. Oh, yeah, this was only $9.99 for the hardcover. It reprints Journey into Mystery 31 through 40 with art by Bill Benton, John Forte, Paul Reinman, Steve Ditko, Don Heck, Bernie Krigstein, Wally Wood, and Al Williamson. These Atlas books were really, really good. The stories were iffy, but the art was so good because you had all these people like Wally Wood and Don Heck and Bernie Krigstein who were looking for work, and Stan Lee was one of the few guys handing out work. 2 epic collections. First one is The Incredible Hulk, Man or Monster by Lear Kirby. This reprints Incredible Hulk 1 through 6, Fantastic Four 12, 25, and 26, Avengers 1 through 3 and #5, Spider-Man 14, Tales to Astonish 59, and Journey into Mystery 112. So it's the early Hulk stories. Cool. And then the last book is another epic collection. I am so glad I ordered this, and I've completely forgot about it. Another $9.99 book that normally goes for $40, and that is the X-Men, The Sentinels Live, which reprints X-Men 46 through 66, Kazar 2 and 3, and Marvel Tales #30. This is the X-Men by Jim Steranko and Neil Adams. Ooh. No, I've read these stories before, but I don't have this epic collection. I do have the epic collection that comes after it, which is all the X-Men appearances when they didn't have a series, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah, that's one of the other epics I know I have somewhere because it's stories I've never read, and I was just like, oh, fun.
Boy, the X-Men's such a weird book when you look through it like this. It's like, oh, there's the Werner Roth stuff, and that's pretty dull. And, that's pretty dull. And holy crap, Jim Steranko on a lot of drugs. And then, here's Werner Roth trying real hard to draw that way. and failing. Oh, look, there's Don Heck. And now Neil Adams. And now Don Heck. And now Neil Adams. And now Sal Buscema. And now Neil Adams. Well, cool. I have stuff to read this weekend. And Saturday is Box Day.
Box Day, Box Day.
Well, believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us blather on about funny books for almost 2.5 hours.
Good for you.
I'm exhausted. How about you?
I feel that way myself.
Well, let's go lay down. I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank everybody for subscribing. And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
You come from dust. You will return to dust. That's why I never dust. Could be someone I know. Besides, after 3 years, it doesn't get any worse or more noticeable. But I do feel like dancing.
Yeah, Cory, you know how I used to dust?
Just open the windows and let the wind blow?
No, I'd spray end dust on the cat. Good night, everybody.
Hit my music.